see the flashing lights so bright, now it's time. Don't you worry, give me the cue, I'm ready. Tune in, come see fashion news celebrities. Don't you worry, give me the cue, I'm ready. Don't listen to just nothing. Tune in, I'ma tell you something. QTV, oh.
Hey y'all, welcome to Qui TV. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about when to call it quits in a relationship. So I know there are many of us out here who are currently in a relationship and we're just not happy. We keep thinking, you know what, maybe if I stay in it, it'll last a little bit longer. Maybe if I work at it. Sometimes it's okay to just stop. It's okay to just end the relationship. Be aware of when you want to call it quits in a relationship. So first thing first, if you are in this relationship and you just hate everything about this person, whether it's their presence, the phone calls, the way they eat, the way they talk, like everything about that person annoys you, just stop. Just call it quits right then and there. That means that you are no longer happy in this relationship. You no longer want to see that person. Or maybe you just need a break from that person. Maybe you see this person too many times. It's too constant. You guys sleep with each other. You see each other. You work with each other. It's just constant being there. And you just do not want to do it anymore. Take a break. Maybe take a couple of days away. Go stay at a friend's house. Go stay at your parents' house. Or maybe it's just if you guys are not seeing each other that much and you just don't want to be with that person, then end it, hon. Just end it. Another thing that you should be aware of if you want to end a relationship, if you do not trust that person, that's a big problem. If you do not trust the person you're with, whether if they're cheating on you, you trust them with your personal issues, you trust them with anything that has to do with you or letting them know about certain things, that's a problem. That's the number one factor that maybe that relationship is not for you. Because trust is so important. If you don't trust a person, what's the point of being with that person? What's the point of having that person around? Just think about it. Think about all those friends you didn't trust that you let go of. Would you really want to stay in a relationship with someone you don't trust? Along with trust is respect. If you're in a relationship and there is absolutely no respect there, whether you're disrespecting the person or the person's disrespecting you from doing things that they know that you wouldn't like, or you're doing things that you know they wouldn't like, or whatever respect means in your relationship, that means that you guys need to maybe think about this and reevaluate this relationship and just call it quits. Because respect and trust are number one factors in relationships. If you don't have those, there's no foundation. There's no reason to build anything from there. That is the number one thing that you really need, along with communication. But trust and respect, if you don't respect the person, that's like you not respecting your parents. If you don't respect your parents, then your parents will practically disown you. Respect is extremely important. Alright? So another thing that a lot of people do in relationships is that they don't break up with a person because they rather stay in the relationship because they feel as if they break up with that person that they're hurting the person. But what you don't realize is that you're hurting the person more being in that relationship with them. You don't treat them the way you used to treat them. You don't look at them the way you used to look at them. You don't act the way you used to do because you do not want to be with that person. So being in that relationship, knowing that you really do not want to be in that relationship, I think you should just call it quits. You're actually doing them a favor by ending the relationship. Staying with them and waiting for them to come around the corner to break up with you. No, it doesn't work that way. You're making them miserable. And misery is nothing fun to be with. Think about it. Just think about being with someone that is constantly upset. You don't want to be around that. So why are you doing that to them? Alright? Another thing that people do when they're in relationships is that they don't want to be alone. So they rather stay in a miserable relationship and be constantly upset than break up. No, it's okay to be alone. Maybe you need to be alone. Being alone is very, very important. If you do not know how to be by yourself, how do you expect to be with somebody else? How do you expect to let someone know how to make you happy if you don't even know how to make yourself happy? You have to think about all of these factors in a relationship. If you don't know how to be happy by yourself, please tell me, how do you expect someone to make you happy? Just think about that. If you do not want to be alone, I think it's time for you to end it to be alone, to know how to be alone and able to be with this person. All right? Another thing that I know, it goes both ways, where your relationship is your relationship and it doesn't matter what anyone says. However, if you have more than one person constantly concerned about your relationship, from your friends, your family, everybody in your waking life is concerned about your relationship, that's a clue. That's a sign that maybe you should think about this relationship. If it's just one person that's constantly nagging, but you know, there are those who just do not care about you being in a relationship and they just do not like anything about it. However, if it's people that truly love you and people that you know will never want to do anything to hurt you and they're only showing you their concern about you, maybe you should think about that. If they're constantly concerned about your relationship, concerned about your well-being, maybe you should think and evaluate that relationship. Just think about it. When you're watching a movie and you see everything that's going on, you see the killer in the closet, you see the person underneath the bed, and the person in the movie doesn't see these things because they're blinded. They don't realize these things. It's the same way as being in love. You're blinded. You don't see the killer in the closet. You don't see what's about to happen. But sometimes the people on the outside looking in, they can see it because they've seen everything happen from outside, from what you haven't seen. Just think about these things. Last thing I always tell somebody is that if you're in a relationship and you are extremely miserable, where you're depressed constantly, you do not want to go home to that person, you do not want to see that person, just being around and like your whole aura has changed and you have changed as a person, call it quits, hon. Your sanity is 10 times more important than you being in a relationship you do not want to be in. Maybe it's time to really think about, like, okay, if this person is really right here and I'm just constantly upset knowing that this person is supposed to make me happy, think about that. That means it's time to end it. It's time to just give it a break. Just take your time out from it. Because being happy is extremely important to be in a relationship. If you don't know how to be happy, what's the point of being in it? I know I've said that a lot, but there are a lot of things like, what's the point of being in these relationships if you cannot be happy? Relationships are supposed to make you happy, despite the fact that, of course, there will be a roller coaster, there will be some bumps, there will be some parts of it that you may not like. However, majority of the time, it's supposed to make you happy. Seeing that person is supposed to make you happy. Being with that person is supposed to make you happy, not miserable. If it's making you miserable and you are constantly upset, where your friends are seeing you depressed now and every time they see you, you're like just out of it, think about that. All right? Well, that's all I have to say about this topic today. Till later. Bye.